So in this video we will explore the idea behind Nimbly, um, what's its purpose, how it works, and just the overall look of the framework. So Nimbly, the idea of Nimbly is to do basically rapid microservice development or like API development, or in general like it's it should be used to build better APIs in a more easier or slash understandable way, um, so that you get some benefits out of it after you create it using this framework. It also enables you to develop modules, which we will explore further. So first we will go through an example, then we will explain how dependencies work between different services or controllers, and then we will go through plugins, and finally we'll just explore the idea of generics, or generic APIs slash services in here. So let's begin with the example. This is just a basic Node.js project with TypeScript. It's important to have, like in Nest.js, you'll see that the API is very similar to Nest. You need to have experimental decorators set to true, and also what I've seen is strict property initialization should be set to false. Okay, that's like the setup. You'll see that only dependency that I'm using is Nimbly API, and it's these two for running Node TypeScript projects. Okay, so let's explore this. So the example here that we're giving is we have a class that represents a controller. It has a base path and it's decorated to be a controller. Further on, it has some methods, which is like get, which is checking if the username or the user with that username is logged in. You can see that you can pass a query parameter here, and it will be mapped to a parameter of the function. Then we compare it. Also, you can register a user. You can log in as well, and then lastly you can log out. A simple example, and yeah, basically you see it has post, decorator returns is for the return type of the method or the function, and also in body you can choose the type. It can be a basic type, actually no, body needs to be a complex type, but query, for example, can be a basic type, so it's like boolean, float, int, or string. In this case it's a string. It can also, you can set it, like you can choose if it's optional, and whatnot. Like there are certain configurations that you can do. In here you can see that this controller has some dependencies. So it's using the username service, which is basically checking if the username is valid or not. Just again a simple example, but you'll see that it takes in some dependencies, and from the services he can take the username service and set it here. We'll explore this in depth in a future video, but for now let's just say that the username service gets here. Username service is just a class with a method which returns just a regex match. And finally, in the index file where everything should be mapped in, we are building the API, like finally from the services that we have. So the first concept that we are introducing is the concept of a container. This will probably be renamed to a module in the future. So yeah, this is basically a module which consists of many services. In this case, I have two different ones. One is for controllers, and another one is for services, like local services. So controllers are the ones from which Nimbly should build the API from, and services are just like services that should be used locally. You can see that we can add access to different containers to a container. So like module can have access to services from a different module and whatnot. And yeah, here we're just building the Nimbly API. We provide some information like the name, description, version. This is purely for Swagger purposes, and we just go like build app from controllers, and yeah, it takes in the services or the controllers actually that are in this container, and it builds the API. This app is the Express application. So you can either, if you don't pass in the existing Express application, it will create a new one. Or if you also have the option of passing in the existing app, and then it will just build on top of it. And yeah, that's it. So it's like now it should listen on port 3030, and if you go npm start, you can see that on localhost 3003. Let me just bring down the window. If we go to localhost 3000 Explorer, you can see that it has built the API. We have all the methods from the auth controller. It also reads the schemas. Yeah, actually, sorry, I didn't explain that, but the way you define types or models, call it whatever, schemas in terms of Swagger or OpenAPI spec, is actually just you have a class, and then you can add some properties to it, and you decorate them with a type decorator. It can also be like you can pick if it's optional or not. If it's an array, you can just say string array. If it's Boolean or Boolean array or whatnot, like, or you have a complex type which is like at type, and then you can set like another type. You also have, if you want the array of complex types, then you go array of, and this should also be able to be a string or something like that. Yeah, the API is wrong right now, but it should work. So this is how you define them, and you can see that Swagger has build. They are all required, and yeah, you can just use this. Like, you can register this user. It worked, and then we can check if the user is logged in, which is string. Yeah, bad example again. So it's not logged in. Okay, let's try to log him in. And like, okay, we're logging in the user. We got 200, and if we check this again, it should return true. So yeah, again, a simple example, but it's just like to show some concepts of Nimbly. So this is one piece. It builds out this API, but what it does under the hood actually is it builds the metadata based on everything that you provided. So if you go to API meta, it builds this JSON that consists of services, actions, and types, and Nimbly input that we provided. Based on this, we can generate the clients for this code. Well, we could technically do this with Explorer as well, like with Swagger OpenAPI spec, because from that meta we also have some mappers that map out that structure to OpenAPI spec. But this is so you have that option as well. Like, you can use existing Swagger or OpenAPI generators. But to showcase something else, or the way we do it, is if you npm install globally at Nimbly CLI, this will install the CLI tools for Nimbly, and then we can just run the generate command, which is Nimbly language TypeScript, output directory, let it be like source, auth, whatever, and then from host HTTP localhost 3030 API is the base path. So you can either read that. So what this would do is it would read the meta, which I've shown here, from /API meta, and based on this, it will generate the code, basically the client. Or you can just copy this meta and then provide it in a file, and then based on that file it will generate. Like, it's up to you. Like, if you have a running service, you could just use it. So yeah, if I run this, it should generate the client. It has the same syntax as the server, but the bodies are empty, and that is why. So the reason for this actually is under the hood, this is a proxy, JavaScript proxy API, and then every call to this method basically gets converted to an HTTP request under the hood. So you'll see that, okay, this also has a container locally, and it exposes some services. Also has some also has types, right? So if I go to main, and then I go like console log auth controller dot is logged in string, it should return true if I didn't reset. npm start. Okay, this is pending, of course, I'm not updating, sorry. Yeah, this returns true, and if I go like this, it should return false. So yeah, this is basically just accessing that API. It exposes the service. So this, imagine this as a client app, whatever. It can be a React app, Vue app, it can be another service, whatnot. So that's how it works. So this is the general idea of Nimbly. It's meant to be like, it's meant to provide a clearly structured way of defining APIs or services in Node.js. So it's very similar to Nest in that sense, but it's more focused on generators and providing the clients, or as we'll see next, like providing some generating the server code as well. Next, we'll run through how dependencies get resolved, and then the plugins, and then generics, as we said. So yeah, this is the example. Thank you for watching.